Hello and welcome to the last word on Spurs. We are your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast, and we do return on the back of Spurs making it through into a Carabao Cup semi-final. Yes, you heard that first. And we've got smiling faces. Jinxes have been lifted, even with Dr Tottenham's in the house. If it was for the first time, you can find us on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. We're of course on X, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook too. And look, being a Tottenham fan, you know, we never, ever, ever do things easy. Oh my God. I mean, what an incredibly crazy, chaotic game that was. That Spurs edged Manchester United by 4-3 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I wouldn't have blamed you for those that weren't lucky enough to be in that stadium if you were quite literally watching that behind your sofa in the second half, because it was, well, unbelievable, wasn't it? So many would say typical Tottenham, classic Tottenham. I mean, a game with 3-0, we're cruising, we're enjoying, and suddenly Tottenham really do show up. I mean, listen, we're joined by 3 fabulous returning guests to Last Word on Spurs, regulars, doctors, therapists. They're all in the house here, I've got to say. I'm joined by actor TJ Ramini. I'm joined by the brilliant Marlon over at the Spurs Kings. And I've got an official doctor in the house. I've got Vass Koni over at the Dr Tottenham podcast. And my God, it's been a long time. And he is smiling, which means we have broken a jinx. And we're lucky to have him here at such a late time of the evening. So listen, guys, thank you so much. Look, TJ, let's open up with you, because it was an absolutely crazy, chaotic game, as I mentioned there. And for those that just want to have a quick glance at the stats there, you know, 9 shots for Tottenham in respect of Man United's 20, 6 on target for Spurs in respect of United's 5. It just shows how crazy the XG was in that game. 0.67 for Tottenham to United's 2.38. 24 touches in the opposition box to Man United's 40. In the passes in the final third, 101 to 140 in United's favour, and United edging possession. I mean, TJ, we do survive a bonkers game to reach a semi-final. What were your thoughts on what we just witnessed there?
I'm going to have to muster some strength before I even attempt to answer any of those questions. Goodness me. Okay, so initial impressions are absolute relief. My goodness, thank God. Thank God. I mean, look, it was actually, I thought, a pretty one-sided contest. I don't think, United did anything for about, 75 minutes. And so I'll give Manchester United for rallying, at last. We only had to give them 2 goals to wake them up. And let's be clear, we gifted them, we gave them 2 goals. Unfortunately, it was the same person that gave them said 2 goals. But I'm not going to dump on Fraser Forster at all. He had a bad day at the office, but he still made some crucial saves. He's come in as a reserve goalkeeper under enormous pressure and scrutiny, from myself included. Rick, we've been on here before. Marlon, you've been on with us before. We were talking about how we all gave Forster perhaps undue criticism. And he's been brilliant since coming in. So we'll allow the big man a bad day at the office. We'll celebrate a wonderful victory. And I'm looking forward to perhaps not quite such an exhilarating semi-final, but, we're into a semi-final, Rick. So
we are.
Happy days.
Amen. Listen, totally agree with that. Miles, to bring you in, a big night, you've got to say, for Ange Postecoglou and these group of players. I mean, regardless of what you make of that second half, you had Ange going from absolutely jubilantly punching the air to then looking really downtrodden as Fraser Forster decided to casually gift United a couple of goals back in that game. But look, with 10 players unavailable, which actually Vass touched on during that point in the green room we had, that, Spurs still scored 4 goals past Manchester United. And then they did, for a period, hit that self-destruct button. What are your takeaways, Miles, from that game? Because, you know what, there's many that will be absolutely elated like I am right now to see Spurs reach a semi-final, right? I mean, look, everyone knows I'm so much in for the cups. I love the cups. For me, the cups are everything more than probably a lot of the league games out there. How do you feel on the back of watching that game and advancing?
I have to give Spurs a lot of praise, especially in the first 60 to 75 minutes, because I thought we managed the game really well. If you look at some of the stats behind it, as you saw, our XG was low. We didn't have much possession. So there was a lot of things that were you looked at it and it wasn't a typical Spurs performance. However, as a Spurs fan, a lot of us felt it was too comfortable for us. Like we weren't doing nothing, out of the ordinary. But Man United weren't really giving us that much pressure. And I was looking at it going, this is a quarter final against Manchester United. Why am I sitting here comfortable? This is just not for me. And then Fraser Forster got really bored. Right, I'm going to put it out there. He got bored, and he was like, you know what? I need to make this game interesting. And look, he's never. Look, I will always say this: he's never been good with his feet. And there's two situations where he has switched off. It's going to happen. He's our second choice goalkeeper. But if I asked everyone tonight, who would you rather as second choice, our goalkeeper or theirs? I'm sitting there saying Fraser, right? And that's even after the two mistakes, because that corner, well, what is the keeper doing? I know if VAR was involved, I kind of said they probably would have given Bergvall and said that he probably did foul him, and it was only a slight touch, but actually he was out of position. He was all wrong. So I'm not going to sit there and criticise Fraser today, because 2 minutes before he goes and lets that first goal in, what a save he makes from Xerxes' header as well. So look, I'm happy with the way the game went. I've got an exciting last 15 minutes, even though I was on the edge of my chair and going, oh my God, what are you doing? But it's great. We're in a semi-final. I'm just going to move on. It's brilliant. I am so happy. I'm celebrating this one for the next few days at least.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've got to be honest here. Calling in Vass Koni, Dr Tottenham, I feel like I need a doctor after that, Vass. I mean, you asked me, can I have a lay down before we started this podcast? I mean, look, let's be honest about it, bringing you in, Vass. Ange and Amorim hugged at full time. They exchanged glances to say that game was absolutely, completely crazy. And there's been a lot of them during Ange's tenure. I mean, that one is right up there. But again, we'll make the point. Spurs advancing to a semi-final. Could you enjoy it, Vass, at all?
Not really, mate. And as I said to you before we started, my son messaged me after the game and he says, let's not talk about that game ever again. I says, what do you mean not talk about it ever again? I'll go on a podcast now and talk about it for the next hour or so. It was just a bit mental. And, I think Ange will get a lot of stick again, as the media tend to give him, because, his way of football, can't see a game out, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, if it wasn't for those two howlers by Fraser Forster, who've been playing really well for us up until tonight, if it wasn't for those two howlers, I don't think that game would have even been close. And we have this this inane kind of trend developing throughout this season, actually, where we allow teams an opportunity in games and their fans get up for it. And we've got a young team, so our immaturity comes to the fore and we start to lose our heads a little bit and we panic and we just make life difficult for ourselves. We've done it in games this season. We did it at Brighton. We did it at Leicester. We did it at Newcastle. You give the other team a little sniff and then we kind of lose our way. And we did that today, but thankfully Sonny came up with whatever that was from the corner and just put everything back on track.
He did. Yeah, I mean, like I say, that Heung-Min Son moment we talk about there, and, you're asking for leaders to step up. I mean, look, I think it's fair to say United probably won't be, this is Ruben Amorim, probably won't be selecting their second choice goalkeeper again. But, for Tottenham, it's a night where I think, if I'm going to be honest with you, Vass, like you touched upon there might be many questions asked about the nature of the way in which, Spurs have let that game to some degree in the end become as chaotic as it was. But I think the overriding feeling when all is said and done is that Tottenham are in a semi-final. And I think that will be the overriding most important thing about this. We've waited a very, very long time as a football club to win a trophy. And as Andrew said now on a number of occasions, he has doubled down on the fact that he always wins a trophy in his second season. Well, we're at a point now, as we know, with a semi-final and a final where we're 3 games away from that. We're only 3 games away from that. So like I say, we are going to bring you that live draw as soon as we get it. Like I say, we are coming to you live. So you'll get our instant reaction to that draw. And I think it's fair to say that we all felt we probably needed a lay down after that because it was a crazy, chaotic game. I mean, just on that point about the game management there, I just wonder if I can come around to you, TJ, on this point. And it's really important that we mention this because, Vass did say that there, albeit for 2 Fraser Forster mishaps, Spurs to some degree were well in the ascendancy in that game. They were 3-0 up. I mean, I just wonder, do you look at the way in which Spurs allowed United back into that game more about the tactical setup, or is that purely down to the individual mistakes of Fraser Forster, TJ? Where do you see it on that fence for you?
I can't subscribe to any kind of theory that the system is to blame for 2, in my opinion, of course, singular errors by one person who just happened to commit the same singular error twice. No matter whatever system, I mean, even if he was told, even if he was in a kind of Burnley system that, if ever the ball comes back to you, hoof it upfield, he still literally just passed the ball to a Manchester United attacker in the 6-yard box for the first one. And then the second one, decide for whatever reason, thought, I'm going to take not only a touch, but a really casual touch, almost kind of let the ball roll across my body as well before I take a touch. And, you just had nowhere near that amount of time. I just don't understand. I mean, listen, I do understand because, of course, football is so subjective and everybody's entitled to their opinion. And if I have a completely differing opinion to somebody else, that's fine. And people can disagree with me as well. But to kind of look at any manager or any coach or any system and go, oh, the system is to blame for that, to me is absolutely staggering. That's just one player who made 2 really bad errors and it cost us 2 goals. So to Marlon's point, and I was laughing when he was talking about it, watching a Tottenham game, a quarter-final in a cup, and not understanding what this new sensation was that was flowing through his body. And then, of course, realizing, I know what this sensation is. It's comfort. No wonder I'm so sort of perplexed that I'm feeling this way watching Tottenham Hotspur against Manchester United in the quarter-final of a cup and feeling complete comfort because I tell you what, I'm much, much happier. I've said this before on the show, even when we were in that horrible period where we just couldn't win a game for toffee, I'm still much happier being a Tottenham fan these days than I'm being a Manchester United fan. I mean, they, for me, are absolutely clueless, rudderless club. There's talk about identity, like they got, for me, massive problems. No disrespect to Manchester United or their fans or whatever, but to me, I'm looking at that club and going, I don't get what's happening there at all. So I'm going to take this win. We should be in jubilant mood. We're into the semi-final of the League Cup. And so we won tonight, gang. I know it feels like we took our lashes and we really did, but we still won. And Sonny put in a worldie from a corner and they still talk about Christian Eriksen being a corner specialist. That, my friend, is a corner specialist. Big up, Sonny.
You know what's interesting? I mean, Vass, look, you'll be well aware of the broadcasting over here in the British media. Was you quite surprised? I mean, after the game, there's a real narrative around the fact of Spurs' lack of game management. I mean, I think we've got to be honest and say that point, that if Fraser Forster doesn't make the couple of errors that he does, Spurs are in the ascendancy, they're 3-0 up, they're going to win the game comfortably. Do you think that's unfair from what we're seeing from the British media around this game management rhetoric around Ange Postecoglou at the moment for you, Vass? In particular to this game?
It's standard media fare and it's lazy. There's no sort of rational and individual thought between pundits in the media over here, whether it be the press or the TV or the radio. In fact, everybody seems to share the same opinion and it just gets recycled. I think at times you just want them to look beyond what's in front of them. I think in Ange's pre-match, when he got interviewed, he said to the interviewer, well, we've got 9 or was it 10 first team players out at the moment, and any team would struggle with that, and we're coping quite well. And he said, I know everybody likes to ignore that. And it just totally went over their heads because it didn't suit the narrative. There's a narrative around Spurs that the media want to portray. And because Ange is different, he's not your standard sort of coach that came through the European big leagues or even through the English leagues. Because he's come to the Premier League via a different route and he does things differently, then he's always going to be questioned and the narrative around him is going to keep sticking until he can get the team to show some consistency and some results that start to level out, let's say, and then they can all really just shut up after that. The problem is, though, of course, with all these injuries and the upheaval that we're going through, it's going to be difficult.
Totally agree. Again, we make that point there, and we make this point here that Spurs were absolutely cruising before two daft individual errors were the last in the side needed. They were bound to tire, and they had to battle through in those last few minutes. Miles, I will just come to you because we have had the draw for the Carabao Cup semi-final, and Tottenham will play Liverpool in the semi-final. That is the breaking news that is reaching us here.
Marlon, can I just say you're not looking too comfortable, mate?
Yeah. just for our audio listeners, Marlon looks like he wants to be anywhere but here at the moment.
Marlon looked like he was trying to literally rub the right eye out of his head.
You know what? Whoever we got in the semi-final, Miles, that we were going to probably have to beat one of the big boys, and maybe won't put Newcastle in that mix. I mean, listen, we have knocked out so far Manchester City, Manchester United. I mean, do we dare put it past us to knock out Liverpool? Is this doable?
It's going to Anfield is my worry. That's the only thing. Out of all the grounds that I think we could, out of all the teams that were left, out of all the grounds I didn't really want to go to was Anfield. I felt like we've been to Arsenal. It was a bit of a semi-final, and they would have probably played a slight half-weakened side. Newcastle. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it.
The fact is, you're right there, Anfield being a venue that we always notoriously struggle at. We haven't won there since obviously Rafael van der Vaart scored for us, bless him, on that wonderful game at the time. But I just wonder, Miles, just to stick with you for a second, the point being that it is a two-legged affair. Does that obviously give you a bit more optimism and hope?
Do you know what? Let's see after Sunday, because Sunday is going to be a big answer a lot of questions for me of how we can cope with Liverpool. Because I think the first leg's first week of January. It's not like we're going to have. It's not like we're going to have massive. Just
to be very, very clear. I mean, look, whether this is a good or a bad thing, on this point, that the first leg will be week commencing the 6th of January, and it'll be Spurs at home, and they'll be going away. And I wonder what you make about this actually on this point, Vass, that the second leg is not until the 3rd of February. So it's about a month. I mean, I've actually never known it to be that gap in time of nearly a month in between the first and the second leg. So just to be clear, 6th of January, week commencing, 6th of January is the first leg. Second leg, week commencing the 3rd of February, Spurs go away at Anfield. I mean, you could argue and say, Vass, if we can rack up a decent lead in the first leg, we haven't got to worry too much about Anfield in the second leg. Am I being optimistic there?
Well, yeah. Well, you've got to be optimistic. Otherwise, what's the point? I think that's a massive gap, almost a month. First week of January traditionally was FA Cup week, right? But for some reason, the FA Cup matches are the second weekend in January this time around. So it sounds like we'll be playing Liverpool at home in the first leg of the semi-final, and then at the weekend going to Tamworth, just up the road from me here.
That's
to
right.
Play in the FA Cup. And that might allow us to play a stronger team against Liverpool and maybe rest a few against Tamworth, not wishing to jinx anything or take Tamworth too lightly. And then you obviously got a few weeks to build up a little bit of momentum for that second leg. But as you quite rightly said, Rick, Anfield has been notoriously difficult over the years for us. So we need to, if we're going to get to this final, we're going to have to play pretty damn well in that first leg.
And it does leave it open, of course, for a Spurs-Arsenal final. I mean, imagine, can your hearts take that? I mean, TJ, what a run this side has been on. And what will make me laugh is I've got to say on this point that, John Berry's a massive fan there. Super Vass Koni, you've got a massive fan there. Yeah. Good old John Berry there, bless him. I've got to say on this point, TJ, when you look at the fact we've beaten City in the last 16, United in the quarterfinals. You got, of course, a situation where if we beat Liverpool in the semis now, and you got Arsenal in the final, I'm just saying hypothetically, Spurs did go on to win it. I just know what will come back to say. It's only the Carabao Cup. I mean, you've beaten 4 of the 5. You can argue really big teams in English football for it being in the Carabao Cup. I mean, what is your first take around the draw for you, TJ? Are you happy with that? Is it just, it is what it is? You're going to have to always face one of the big boys, or arguably Newcastle United, which again, Newcastle, similar to Anfield, not an easy place for us to go.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, I think that the latter option you gave me there, which is it is what it is. We're in the semi-final of a domestic cup. As far as it's only the Carabao Cup. All that needs to put that to bed is, do you want to look at the teams that have won the Carabao Cup over the last 7, 8 years, 10 years?
Awesome.
Go and have a look at the teams that have won that competition, and also even look at the teams that Arsenal put out yesterday, that Newcastle put out yesterday. People want to win this competition. And the thing is that, there's no doubt that as far as football goes, I've always thought it's harder to win the Premier League than it is to win the Champions League. I've kind of always subscribed to that. And again, people are going to be out there pulling their hair out going, what's he smoking? And what's in that cup? And, and all that kind of thing. Again, just my opinion. I think that the Premier League is so terribly competitive, and it seems to become more competitive and harder to contest with every passing season because of the enormous amounts of money. Now we're looking at actually financial fair play is starting to have a bearing. There are so many teams that have great coaches. There's great setups everywhere. All of these teams have incredible facilities and infrastructure. And so there are teams that, believe me, all these 4 teams, including Liverpool, are gunning to win this trophy because I know that
first one for him in English football if he wins it.
Of course, brother, and I know City are going through, goodness me, like whatever is happening at City at the moment. But post Christmas, if they start winning 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, everybody's going to start to wobble again. Right. And so the 4 teams that are involved in this tournament, Tottenham Hotspur, Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, are all gunning to win this trophy. So I won't hear, it's just the Carabao Cup. And goodness me, we're starving, aren't we? We're absolutely famished. Give us something. Let us eat. Like Decky said, let us eat. Right? Goodness.
You make some really important points there, TJ, that, on this point, Miles, I think everybody in this competition would want to win it. Newcastle want to win it and under Eddie Howe. I mean, they've had a longer trophy drought than us, for God's sake. And, this is the narrative that gets painted around kind of English football about Spurs being the real, let's be honest, about underachievers. Liverpool want to win it. We made that point with Slot in the first final. When you've got Arsenal under there with Arteta, they haven't won anything for a very, very long time. So, does the fact, Miles, and I think this is maybe very, very key, by having the home leg at home and Anfield being a month away afterwards in February, does that give us a real opportunity to get players back? But now I'm thinking, God, that also gives us a chance to lose players as well. It's just so Tottenham, right? You can't make this up.
It is so Tottenham, but you've got to also remember, we've also got the Europa League to come in January. We've also got the FA Cup potentially if we do get through on the 4th round as well. So we'll potentially know what we're heading into when we go into that second leg, when we come to Anfield as well. So look, at the end of the day, it's 11v11. If it's our day, it's our day. If it's not, it's not. Out of all the teams, I know I saw my face and I was like, oh my God, it's Liverpool. But it's just because every time we play Liverpool in certain cup competitions and whatnot, I think last time I remember beating them in the cup was a quarterfinal in the FA Cup, Klinsmann and Sheringham. But apart from that, it's like Liverpool are a very hard team to go and play. So, and I know our luck's not against them. But look, Ange can change that. And I'm going to go back to the game tonight where I think, look, Fraser Forster don't make those mistakes. He managed the game so well. And it's not a narrative about, it's because of the way we play. The reason why we conceded 2 goals tonight is because of Pep Guardiola, because he's brought that, got to pass it out from the goalkeeper and whatnot. It's his football, where everyone's playing, to the reason why it's, keepers are making mistakes. Fraser Forster didn't have to play that way 10 years ago. Now look at him. So it's going to happen. So for me, look, Spurs can do it. It's going to be a tough month. January is going to be a very, very tough month. Let's hope the club can go and support Ange and get him what he needs to get over the line, because at the end of the day, they've left him very short at the moment. And a lot of people say he's doing, like as you said, we've had about 10 players out. There's players to come back. There's players probably are going to go out as well. Players that will get injured. Let's see how it goes. Come on, it's going to be a great ride.
I just think when you get to a point where we are now, Miles, when you're in the last 4, I don't think you can be too argumentative about the draw, because it is what it is, and you're going to have to beat whoever you need to beat to go and win the trophy. Yeah. It's never going to be easy. And I think back to TJ's point there, when you look at, I think it's 87% of the teams that have won this have always been the top 3, the top 4 teams. So it is what it is. Liverpool will be a great test for Ange Postecoglou. it's for him an opportunity to beat his boyhood club over 2 legs. That'll be really, really exciting, and I'm sure they're going to absolutely relish that. What we are going to do, look, we are going to go for our first break of the show for our listeners and audio. We're going to hear directly now from Ange Postecoglou on Spurs advancing to the Carabao Cup semi-final. We're going to be back with you after this very, very short break.
Hardest job in the world. Did we see tonight why it's so stressful?
Yeah, look, it was obviously we made it harder than it should have been, for sure. Rolling control and played really well. We looked like we were going to manage the game, and then obviously 2 moments of unfortunate. I mean, I think the first one kind of affected Fraser for a little bit, and then the second one sort of came as a result of that. So, and then we had to scramble a little bit. Showed some character at the end. Got a 4th and through the semi.
What did you like about the early part of the match, and probably actually the start of the second half, mostly where you completely took control of the game?
I like the whole bit, mate. Are you not entertained?
We are very entertained.
Well, there you go. What do you want? Do you want to scramble in 1-0? I know the studio's probably going in a meltdown over my lack of tactics, but you know what? I love the fact that we go out there and just take it to oppositions. Even the fact that we've got so many absences at the moment. Goalkeeper, both centre halves, left backs. Got kids on the bench, and yet these boys are maintaining their principles about trying to play the football we want to be. And I think if we get through this period and I just think we're going to get enormous growth out of it. I really like the way we played tonight. I mean, obviously, those 2 moments kind of taint the sort of overall. And it's something that's happened this year before. And obviously, it doesn't help us in sort of gaining traction in terms of our consistency. But in terms of the mentality of the boys, mate, I love it.
You're right about the studio meltdown, by the way.
So there you go. That was Ange Postecoglou there, who seems very acutely aware, doesn't he, Vass, at the moment in regards to the general feeling around tactics. And you know what? I think he's very, very aware, as I make that point, of just the kind of surrounding feeling. And we made that point that it does seem in this particular game here, I think it's very, very harsh, as we touched upon there with Miles and TJ, this narrative around anything around his tactics for this specific game, when you've got a goalkeeper that, quite frankly, has a mishap and chucks 2 in. Is that fair for me to make that point, Vass?
No, it's perfectly fair. I think, if you look at the game, you showed the stats earlier on. United had more possession. United had more shots. Probably a lot of that came towards the end when they were piling on the pressure. Sky put on a momentum chart during the game, and it shows that Spurs' best moments of momentum were like 15 minutes before half-time and 15 minutes after half-time. I thought in the first half, whilst the fellas here were saying that, we controlled the game, I thought there was things we could have done better in the first half. I thought Man United were outnumbering us in midfield, and we were turning over the ball a little bit more than we should have done. But clearly, Ange has managed that, and we've come out in the second half, different shape slightly, pushing further up, took control of the game, scored 2 goals. We're 3-0 up. Everything's cruising, but you just can't legislate for those types of scenarios where, and he's right, Fraser got rattled from the first mistake he did, and it's probably lingering when he made the second mistake.
Yep.
And there you go. Then you're under pressure, and you're sort of wobbling, and it's like a boxer who's taken too many punches and his knees are starting to go. But these kids, they regained their composure, got their noses back in front. They're further in front, I should say. It's just unfortunate that we let them get yet another one in injury time just to make the stress come back again.
Totally agree. Look, what we are going to do, before we look ahead to that game, a reminder, we're joined by the brilliant Vass Koni over at the Dr Tottenham podcast. We've got a doctor. We've got a doctor for this one. We thought we might have needed him to give us a checkup before the game, but we're okay. We're okay, we are. We're joined by the superb actor, TJ Ramini. I've got to say, TJ, the shift this man has put in over these last few months, I know TJ's been regular, but it's been back to back to back to back. He, unfortunately, is not here for Liverpool. We're going to get him rest and return in January. Bless his heart. He's coming over, zipping over to the UK. We're looking forward to seeing him. And like I said, we've got the wonderful Miles over at the Spurs Kings. Miles, thank you so much. I say there's nearly over 7,000 of you, can I just say, watching us live. Your support for this show is quite simply unbelievable. We love you all. And a reminder for you in terms of that team as that happened or took place before the game was there was 2 changes from Saints game for Spurs. Porro and Basuma starting. Destiny Udogie out. Bergvall on the bench. Spurs still about 10 players, 10 senior players at the moment. The team read Forster, Porro, Dragishin, Gray, Spencer, Basuma, Madison, Kulusevski, Solanke, Son, with a bench of Austin, Whiteman, Reguilon, Dorrington, Hardy, Bergvall, Elise Johnson, Lancashire. For Manchester United, there was no Marcus Rashford. Of course, he has stated he would like a new challenge. 5 changes from the win at Man City. Bayindir coming in goal, maybe for us as a benefit over Onana. Lindelof, Euro, and Anthony all recalled. Ericsson also started versus his old club. He got a standing ovation. So United's team read Bayindir, Dalot, Lindelof, Euro, Martinez, Mazraoui, Fernandes, Ericsson, Ugarte, Anthony, Hoyland. Only 3 minutes on the clock, and the Daniel Levy Kulusevski chant was belted out by the South Stand. May not even 6,000 in the away end. And I've got to say, that Kulusevski chant was pretty much sung throughout the duration of that game at many, many points. Spurs, in the early stages, took a short free kick. It was worked well out to Porro, who let fly on Bayindir. Could only split to Solanke as he rifled home for his 8th goal of the season. You've made the point on here, TJ, consistently about Solanke that you've always liked his energy, his work rate, his commitment, desire. And it's his 8th goal of the season. And, we may argue the fact that maybe we would like to see more goals from him. But I've got to be honest to say to you, I've always liked the way he's played so far in a Spurs shirt. I think he really helps us in our build-up play. And he's now scoring some big goals in some big games, TJ.
Listen, I've never hidden my admiration and my respect. And since he's become a Tottenham player, enormous affection for Big Dom Solanke. I've said before on this program, he is an egoless player. You always know what you're going to get from him. The criticism of Tottenham, quite rightly, from myself, from you, Ricky, from all the panelists, from all of the Tottenham fan base, is that we are tremendously inconsistent. Well, this man is not inconsistent. Every time he pulls on a Tottenham shirt, he gives absolutely everything for however many minutes he's on the pitch. And I was delighted that he got himself a goal tonight. The first to react in a lackluster Manchester United back 4, but you've got to be on your toes. You've got to react. And what a smart finish, because obviously Porro's hit that with tremendous venom. The goalkeeper has made a save. It's parried back, and he's smashed that first time actually against the bottom of the left-hand post and in, completely unsavable. So I was delighted for him. I mean, listen, man, we had some really outstanding performances tonight. I thought Jed Spence, absolutely brilliant tonight. I thought Archie Gray and Dragishin were terrific. Porro was not great in the first half, was excellent in the second half. Sarr, magnificent. But for me, the man of the match today by some distance, and I'm so happy for him, was Yves Bissouma. I thought he was absolutely tremendous, covered every blade of grass, and was excellent on both sides of the ball. I'm so happy for him as well. Maybe that game that he had to serve on the sideline, because of a suspension, maybe that just kind of gave him a little bit more time just to kind of have a moment, rediscover himself. I think he's an excellent player. I've been kind of disappointed because he seems to have so much potential. I just thought he was brilliant tonight, man. Like, not just in his work rate, but his skill as well. His dribbling was great. His blocks were great. His passing was great. I was so happy for Yves Bissouma, man, because there's I think an exceptional player in there tonight, and it was lovely to see.
We just got to find that more consistently, haven't we, with him?
Yeah,
man, it's the thing, we saw that at
tremendous
Brighton.
athlete as well, Rick, isn't he? I mean, goodness me.
Saw it so often at Brighton. I think it's a case, can we get that consistency? Because I just do feel for him, this is a critical point coming up in terms of this second half of the season.
Yeah.
I think
harder
given how
at a
long
bigger club, man. Again, no disrespect to Brighton, but it's harder, man. And I was really pleased for him today. Anyway, I've spoken too much.
No, listen, that's absolutely fine. Vass, I want to come over to you about Dominic Solanke. Look, I think it's quite interesting when you get different viewpoints on him. I've been really quite happy with Solanke. I think he's really helped us in our build-up play. He's now got 4 goals in a row against Manchester United. He loves scoring against them. What's been your overall take on Solanke for you? Have you been quite happy, Vass, with what he's produced so far?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, I was one of those that I was hoping that we would sign him in the summer, and I'm glad that we did. As TJ said, he will give you 100% every game, and even when he's not scoring, he gets through so much work. The guy just does not stop running. We know Decky is quite a fit guy who can run forever, but Solanke is another one like that, and he's really what we need at the top when we play. And the couple of games he was out, we really missed him, because we put Son there a couple of times, and Sonny does struggle playing with his back to goal. So yeah, it's a shame we haven't had Richarlison available to give him a little bit of a rest from time to time. But more than happy with Solanke. And I make TJ right on man of the match. I thought Bissouma was excellent today. Sarr was pristine again, a little bit slow in the first half, but he really grew into the game. It's just a shame, actually, that both him and Maddison are going to have to miss the first leg of the semi-finals. They picked up yellow cards today.
Yeah, really interesting point. I'm glad you brought into play there. Like I say, that will be a blow for Spurs. Sarr has been one of those players that, when he's been really hot, he's been really hot, and likewise with Maddison. So they will be big misses, Vass. Thanks so much for pointing that out there. Miles, you know what's interesting with Solanke? I think the one key thing that I've been frustrated by with him is the lack of service into him. Because I think what we've seen is when he's been given opportunities, he will get goals. And just to illustrate, in terms of getting goals for Tottenham in general now, he's got, when you look at it, bar Cole Palmer out there, his stats in terms of goals at the moment, he's got 9 so far in all competitions. Down the pecking order from him is Ollie Watkins with 7, Danny Welbeck with 6, Liam Delap with 6, Jamie Vardy with 6. I mean, from a goals return, from an English perspective, bar Cole Palmer out there, who's probably the outlier at the moment, he's still putting goals in the back of the net, Miles. Is it about, again, getting that service into him for you?
Yeah, no, I've been a big advocate for Solanke, have been since the beginning of the season, and everything that TJ said about him at the beginning, I've been completely shouting at the rooftops about. He does work hard. I think when it comes to the chances that's being created for him, I think a lot of the problem is, and look, I don't want to speak negative on it, but I think it's down to Brennan Johnson, and Brennan Johnson's not really. If let's take tonight. So Kulusevski's more of a creator, and he's going to create chances for you. Brennan Johnson's not doing that. Brennan Johnson's more at the end of crosses and things like that. So when it comes to making chances, you tend to find that Brennan Johnson is in the positions to get the goals and not the one to be creating it. So you could kind of see that when Solanke is scoring his goals, apart from the Chelsea game where it was 2 mistakes from Cucurella, where I think Johnson and Porra set him up, but it was a case of when Brennan Johnson's not on the pitch, I find that Solanke ends up getting in those positions and then ends up scoring. So look, at the end of the day, I think that's what it's down to at the moment, is who he's playing up top with. But the problem is that he works hard enough, no matter who's up there with him. He's so unselfish as well, and his second goal tonight was exactly what I expect from him. And the way he finished it off, I can't argue. He was absolutely, it was absolutely brilliant. And for me, look, at the moment, it's been £60 million well spent, considering what we've spent 60 million on in the past. So look, we can only move forward with him. And at the end of the day, he's playing against his old club as well in Liverpool, so he'll probably want something to prove as well in that next round. But yeah, for me, Solanke, got no problem with him. Even when the people were criticising him, I said, nah, his work rate is unbelievable. Compared to what we've had, his work rate is unbelievable.
I do agree on that. Again, I think people underestimate and underrate maybe what it does give to a team when you've got somebody there that is willing to really press from the front. I mean, again, one of the reasons why Spurs signed him was of the fact he had the most presses of any forward player in the Premier League, which is why Andrew was so desperate to bring him in. Going on to that game, Ericsson so nearly did equalise, and neat move down United from the left-hand side, saw the ball drop in, the former Spur. But it was great defending actually in between Pedro Porro and actually Bissouma made a great block on a shot from Ericsson to keep it at 1-0. When it goes back to that point, as Vass and TJ have pointed out here, that Bissouma really did have a good performance. The slight negative with starting that first off was, of course, that booking that he picked up. As Vass has mentioned, he will miss that first leg of that tie against Liverpool, along with James Maddison. A really needless foul on Bruno Fernandes at the time. And as we kind of go through that first half, really. They had a chance where Son found Kulu in the box. He turned and Bayindir saved it down the left-hand side of his goal. And, we make that point that, you're looking at first half, really thinking, could Spurs have gone in with a better advantage? Because I think United in general, whilst maybe you'd say chances were few and far between, it felt as a United side there for the taking. You just saw Amorim on the touchline looking very dismayed, despondent really at the first half performance from United. And you go in there and you're thinking, you know what, there's opportunities here to really pick at them. And, when you look at the way Spurs started that second half, they just needed 47 seconds to go 2-0 up. Kulu doubling Spurs' lead. And this all came actually, from down again the left-hand side where James Maddison's invention, saw a ball pulled back. Kulusevski absolutely rifling it in. Manchester United caught cold. And for Dejan Kulusevski, his 6th goal of the season. And for him, of course, he's now scored in his last 4 consecutive matches. I mean, Russ, I know, likewise, I've heard you on Dr. Tottenham this season speak so highly of Kulusevski. Is he now just evolving for you into that real natural leader of who we need in this team? Many talk about Sonny and what he does from the way he trains, from the way he acts as a player, but Kulusevski at the moment, Vass, the goals in the big games, the way he really is scoring important goals in important moments. Just how much have you been so pleased by the evolution of him this season in that more central role?
Yeah, look, he's been very conscious about what he needed to do in order to improve, and he's spoken about it. There was a piece before the game today in which he was interviewed, and he's spoken about it before, about how he wants to be up there with the best in the world, and he wants to focus on what's going to help him get there. And one of the things that he was talking about improving was his finishing so that he can get more goals, and he certainly did that tonight. But he's been instrumental in anything positive we've done from an attacking sense in many games now. So he's doing it more consistently. I think against Southampton the other day, 5-0 up at half time, I think he had a cigar on in the second half and he wasn't doing very much, probably saving himself for tonight. But that's entirely warranted. Good luck to him. But yeah, he's definitely been a massive plus for us so far this season. And although we'd like to have seen him more centrally, it seems as though when Maddison's in the side, Kulusevski can shift over to the right, as he does. He wasn't getting much success there last season on the right-hand side, but it seems to be working now. And I think he's becoming interchangeable with Maddison in terms of both position and creativity. So that's a positive for us, definitely. Yeah, very pleased with Decky at the moment, yeah.
Totally agree on that point. I mean, TJ, you've raved about the way Kulusevski's adapted this season and almost, let's be honest about it, evolved into this player, to this person that I think we're all really, really excited to see game upon game. I mean, you can argue with something at the moment, you're not sure what you're going to get, but when you're talking about consistency, the one word Decky has been this season really throughout, bar, I think maybe a game or two, has been consistency. Is that fair?
Yes, it is. And also application and effort, just like Dom, which, again, when you look at players' performances that we've had throughout the season where we've lacked energy and we've lacked application and effort, it makes it all that more perplexing and actually frustrating. But yeah, Decky and Solanke, and I mean, I know he's only played twice, but Spence just comes bursting out of the blocks every single time we play him, and it's really important for us. I think it actually energizes the team as well when you have players who go out there and just kind of put it all on the line, from the first whistle to the last. That's your job as a professional footballer. And so Decky, my goodness, an interesting one, man. What's his ceiling? Again, I've said on this show before to echo, somebody was sending me a message about how many times I say to echo the sentiments. And so let me do it again. To echo the sentiments of Dear Vass. The fact that we have a player in our team who...
Alan's taking shots in the background.
Yeah, exactly. So, the fact that he's come out and said publicly on numerous occasions, he wants to be one of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world. And again, it's not just lip service. He really believes that. And anyone who has kind of followed his trajectory can see that he means it and he's working at it. So he's a really, really exciting prospect. There's a couple of players in this team you think, man, baller. I think Jed Spence is a really special player as well. What's going to happen with him? Nice picture of Jaggers in there. I think he's been excellent, man, these last 4 or 5 games. So I'm very, very pleased for Decky. I'm pleased for the team. And Rick, again, we've been talking recently over, shows that have been very difficult to do. We've often talked about how poor and imprecise our passing has been. When our passing is precise, I mean, how many times were we stuck in our left back corner and like 4 or 5 players are playing all these tiny little passes? And in the first half, when we were a couple of goals up, we got away with it every single time. Of course, when we went a little bit wobbly in the second half, we weren't quite so good at it. But like, this is a team that has confidence and belief in our ability to pass our way out of intricate situations. And I love seeing that, man. That's a very positive uptick in mentality. And again, as any Tottenham fan will know, mentality has often been an issue for us. So this was an important victory tonight, lads. And again, we got to start stacking these victories, right? So
100%,
that's
100%.
2.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
Yeah, totally agree on that point. I mean, Miles, I want to bring you in on Kulu because just in the EFL Cup alone, he's had 4 GAs in 3 games. You know what TJ said there about the ceiling of Decky. What we're seeing right now, Miles, how confident are you that there's even more to come from him? Because in himself, he's very confident we're even yet to see the best of Kulusevski. Do you think we're going to see an even better player than this as we progress throughout this season, Miles?
Hopefully. Look, he's definitely stepped on the pitch this season and gone, actually, I'm the man to step up. Because if we went back last season and seasons before, a lot of Spurs fans were calling him, he's not consistent, he's not this. Is his best position on the right? He's got to move into the middle. Well, if I ask the people the question now, what is his best position? Is it in the middle or on the right? He is showing in both positions right now that he can do both now, where he wasn't showing that before. So for me, Kulu, look, he's got a wonderful left foot, and his movement with the ball is great as well, and he does pick out passes here, from time to time. But if this is the Kulu we're going to get, and this is him going, I'm hungry, I want to be someone, so much better. The only people that are going to benefit from this is us Spurs fans, because at the end of the day, he's controlling games, like especially in the big games. You take the Manchester City away game, you take the United away game, you take tonight. He is literally just going. He's getting stronger and stronger as every game goes by, and I feel like Ange has now seen, when he comes up against a certain opponent, he sits there and goes, okay, I know Kulu's going to be suited better in the middle today. Actually, he's going to be better on the right. He's going to be better in the middle, because he just seems to know. He just seems to be picking him in the right position for certain games. Because tonight, I would probably gone with him to put him in the middle, but yet he's put him on the right, knowing the fact of Man United have changed their formation. They're not really comfortable in it. They've made changes, and he was outstanding again tonight. And he just picked the pockets. And again, like I said, he's helped Solanke out tonight. And that second goal with Maddison just weaving in behind, and he's then come across the box. Usually you'd find Kulusevski sitting on the right-hand side. He wouldn't come in. So even he's starting to think a bit more outside the box and going, actually, this is where I need to be. I don't need to be there. This is where the system requires me to be. So
shades of Bale, Marlon. Shades of Bale. Right?
I'm not going that far.
Shades off, mate. Shades.
But yeah, that.
You know what?
He's doing wonders, and I can't complain. But I can't wait to talk about Spence, by the way.
Well, we're coming on to him in a second. We are going to come on to him right now, Spence, because look, again, Solanke at the double, and this was a lovely, goal for Spurs. At one, well, as stupid were we to think 3-0 up, we're cruising. I mean, I even gave a little cheeky wink to Vass, and I quickly reverted the cheeky wink to Vass. I thought, oh my God, what's happened this last half an hour? And Spurs going 3 to the good. A super goal by Spurs' number 19, as Jed Spence sent him on his way, so he cut inside Martinez and rifled the ball into the bottom corner. There were big celebrations on the Spurs bench, and Postecoglou punching the air in absolute jubilation. The South Stand actually in full voice for the Spurs boss at that point, really getting behind Ange Postecoglou. But there's no doubt about it. Look, that was Solanke. That was, of course, Solanke's goal, but it was Jed Spence's assist Vass, start us off on the redemption of Jed. I mean, have we criminally underused him, or are we bringing him in now, Vass, at the most important point of the season for you? Where do you sit on that fence for you?
Look, I'm glad he had his breakthrough at Southampton and came in and Ange trusted him to play again tonight. I really don't understand why we've not seen more of him this season. Ange probably has that info and we don't. Somebody in the comments earlier said that maybe Jed trains like crap during the week, but plays really well when he's picked in the team. I don't know what the issue is, but yeah, he had another another excellent game tonight, and he got applauded off standing ovation when he got subbed. So good on him. I hope that gives him the confidence to do what he needs to do to stay firmly in the forefront of Ange's mind when it comes to team selection, and that he'll get some more games coming his way. I want to take this opportunity also. It seems as though we've talked about every sort of player tonight, apart from one that I really wanted to shout out, and I shouted him out on Sunday on our pod as well, and that's Archie Gray. This kid is 18 years old, right? And he's played right back, left back, centre back for us. And he's so unassuming and so calm. He just does his job, you know. As I repeat what I said in our pod as well, that he won't give you things that will make up a massive highlight reel. He won't do anything flashy. He won't be the best player on the pitch or anything like that. But the fact that he can come in at just 18 years of age and, as that comment says, play every 3 days as a centre back and just do what he needs to do, I think it's incredible and good on him. And then just to follow on that, if you look at our squad now, Rick, I mean, what are we talking about? Mickey van der Ven, 23, Radu Dragusin, 22, sorry. We had Archie Gray, 18. We got Bergvall, 18. We got who else?
Mikey Moore, of course.
Mikey Moore, 17. Doggies, 22. Jed Spence only 24. Pape Matasar, 22. This is a young team, and it's Brendan Johnson's 23. So it's still learning, it hasn't even hit its peak yet. And as long as our experienced players can sort of hang in there and become a little bit more consistent themselves, then this is what's going to nurture these guys to produce more consistent performances. But it's promising and it's great to see.
Yeah, Vass, I'm so pleased you actually pointed him out, Archie Gray, because I think many are going on the fact that he's actually becoming quite an unassuming, unsung hero, really. As you mentioned there, he's played every position bar the one that we're told is going to be the absolute future of it, and which will be a defensive midfielder. And I think it's remarkable, like you actually said there, Vass, doesn't complain about it, totally gets on. There's a real relationship, I think, developing with the likes of him, Dragusin, to be fair, Bergvall when he comes on and contributes that. We're making this point that, for all the adversity that we've gone through this season, these young players are learning from that. And look, we don't have to go through the adversity, don't get me wrong, because it can be quite painful. But I can't believe I'm saying this now. Gotta say, I'm saying this now after we've come out on the other side of it. But players will be better for going through that suffering, Vass, like the second half, because that is, I mean, as Marlon covers his face there, that is really what kind of makes these players even stronger. But I mean, Miles, just in your opinion on Jed Spence and the youngsters coming through now, just how excited are you by those players coming through? And I wonder, I know again, it's only been a cut of games with Jed. The biggest compliment I can pay Jed so far for me, and again, it's only been a couple of games, that I'm not really noticing a massive drop-off when I'm comparing him to the likes of a Doggy or Porro, and he's having to be played on the other side. I mean, is that a fair comment, or do I need to really give it more games to really be able to come to that judgment? Where do you stand on that for you?
No, because look, we sat in the summer and when we saw Jed, and we was all like, actually, he suits the Ange system really, really well. And it was confusing that when we got to this part of the season that we've rarely seen any minutes, and we're asking questions of Ange. And look, this is the only thing that's not making Ange look good so far. That Jed has come in the last 2 games and he has been excellent. He has been exactly what we all told him he was going to be in his system. I know there was a period where he was meant to come in, but he got injured, and then we've not seen him since. And you're looking at Ange going, Porro and your Doggy were literally on their feet, and he could have played some Premier League games. He could have. all right, and he didn't bring him in. So Andrew will have to take a long look in the mirror and go, why was I holding him back for so long? Because against Southampton, that first goal in the first minute, that doesn't happen without him and the way he pressurizes. But him and Archie Gray today, some of the times they 1-2 passes and being so comfortable and coming out of the left back position and not, there's no fuss. We wasn't on the edge of our seats. We're like, these two boys are doing well, right? But the only thing is, only us Spurs fans, this is the most Spursy thing, only us Spurs fans, right, would get behind, we'll turn on Levy, but it'll be the club signing in Spence that we're all going, oh, yeah. So, you know, it's typical us. So us. But look, him and Gray, look, I always said, I'm never going to, Archie Gray playing centre back, I'm never ever going to criticise him for. I did the same with Emerson Royale. It's not their natural position. If they get caught out, they get caught out. But the last 2 games, look, Southampton weren't really a test. We'll sit there and say that. But tonight he was tested, and I thought they were both actually, him and Spence played really well and coped with Højlund on that side. And I can't remember who else was playing on that side with them. Max Rock, the right back, but they literally coped with them really well. Yeah, Max Roy, that's it. So I literally, look, I have to say, I'm not going to sit there and complain. I thought they both did well. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what side he picks for Liverpool. Whether Spence will play at left back, because that's going to be another, you know, kettle of fish, especially with Salah being around. But look, at the end of the day, for me, it's going to be interesting now to see what he does with Spence over the next few weeks, especially knowing the fact that, look, because everyone's moaning, he should have been in the cup squad, But especially what's happened to Vicario, you kind of have to go, well, Forster has to be in there because we couldn't rely on the other two. We couldn't. I'm sorry, but we couldn't rely on the other 2 goalkeepers. We saw them in the summer, and they didn't give us anything to shout about. So look, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's the Premier League games that I was more worried about, and I always said that Spence should have been given a chance to rotate with Udogie and Porro so they could have more minutes in the Europa League, and we weren't in this situation now where Udogie's now injured and Porro does look knackered. He looks off his feet. You can tell it in games. So it's going to be really interesting over the next few weeks to see what happens, especially with we've got a lot of games coming up. Yeah. So
don't we know it? Look, what we are going to do, we're going to go on, Vass. Do you want to come back in there?
No, I was just going to say, I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe Udogie come back in on Sunday at left back.
Right.
And then if he does want to rest Porro, I think Spence could probably go again at right back. So maybe that will cross his mind to do. But yeah, obviously we'll see on Sunday.
Yeah, obviously we've got again that gap where we've got, was it 4 days, 5 days to obviously then we've got from Sunday to Thursday for obviously the return of Nuno Derby, do we call it now? Nuno Espirito Santo on the horizon. We are going to squeeze in very quickly our next break of the show here for our listeners and audio. There's nearly over 8,000 of you that are watching us live. Can I just say, guys, absolutely incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. You guys, absolutely amazing. I'm joined by, we've got a doctor in the house. I've got Vass Koni at the Dr Tottenham podcast. I thought we were going to do the defibrillator at one point before we started the show. He needed to lay down.
You and me both, mate.
And he was the doctor telling us he was going to need to lay down. What's going on there? I'm joined by the wonderful actor TJ Ramini, also back on our screens, and we'd like to see him. And we've got the wonderful Marlon over at the Spurs Kings. A reminder for you out there, you can need this more than ever now. We're delighted, of course, to have long-term partners, NordVPN, as part of our plans here, as part of our partnership on Last Word on Spurs. They are offering you currently 4 extra months for free on a 2-year plan. Look, we've got the European journey. We've got the Cup journey. I'm sure many want to get away, maybe the start of the year, towards the end of the year as we approach it. If you're looking for a decent Christmas present, this is a good time to go and get this little device that can take you all around the world and still watch your favourite programmes, still keep in touch with all your favourite sports. You can hit the QR code. You can check them out on our audio and video description, nordvpn.com/LWOS. Right, so 3-0 cruising. There was me. WhatsApping away Marlon, TJ and Vass. Didn't get a response from Vass, apart from the face of just keep calm with a cigarette in the mouth. Vass obviously knew what was coming. He's the doctor, right? He's the doctor. And it wasn't as easy viewing. I mean, it got to a point where we were giving Christian Eriksen a standing ovation, which I thought was lovely to see. Although there was some audible boos actually at the start of the game for him, which again maybe was pantomime villain stuff, to be honest with you. At this point, Man United were trying to chop down Kulusevski at every given moment. He was almost bouncing off them. And then we had a fabulous save from Fraser Forster in the build-up to United getting a goal back, where he makes an absolutely stupendous full-length save to deny Xerxes, but then has an absolute, moment to quite frankly forget, where he mucks up with his pass out from the back. He tries to find Dragoshin, but Fernandez intercepts, squares it for Joshua Xerxes, tapping at 3-1. I think at that moment, it was very apparent that there was nerves setting in Vass in that stadium. Is that just the nature of how many times that we have given away leads this season? I'm thinking of Chelsea, Brighton, and the nature of how we have capitulated. Is that just a form of that element of it rather than it just being the fact we've conceded one? What was your view as soon as 3-1, United got that goal back? Was you always nervous?
Listen, I think that I'm sure there were Spurs fans on Sunday against Southampton who probably believed we were going to lose 6-5. It's in our nature, Rick. It's in our nature. We've seen a lot of it, and that's why at 3-0, you just did not want the team to concede even one goal, because we can get rocked so easily. Our mentality and our nerves, they don't hold very well when we suddenly come under pressure. So you can never really relax when it's Spurs, even with a 3-0 lead, as you all saw tonight. Before you know it, 3-2, and everything is going against you. I generally like to keep my mouth shut until the game is almost over, if I'm totally honest with you. That's probably why I didn't respond to you, Rick.
No, I don't blame you. I think we're all concerned in that moment. Miles, just to bring you in, look, United then very quickly get a second goal back, and it suddenly becomes a lot more nerve-wracking than maybe what it should have been. Now, at this point, Forster with another clanger as he is closed down by Amad Diallo, and his clearance is blocked into the Spurs net. And once again, Miles, this is a really unnecessary situation, as Spurs play a free kick back to him, and it's touched on, but Ange Postecoglou at that point really has his head in his hands, and it just felt that as soon as that goal went in for 3-2, this felt like a really, really big final 20 minutes that we're in store for. Was you really, it's a silly question as a Spurs fan, how concerned was you when it went to 3-2? Was it almost pending fate they were going to go on and get the third?
Do you know what? I was sitting there when the second goal went in. I went, at least on that next know that when Forster gets at his feet, he's just going to kick it long, because there was no need. There was absolutely no need at all for that. That second one confused me, because I don't know where he thought he had so much time either. Right, considering the first one. Look, the first one I can let him get away with, because he's passed it, he's not looked up, and it's Forster. But the second one, I am going to give him. Look, you saw him coming. You knew you took all the time in the world. You had Dragoshin there, who was free anyway, so you could have passed it to him. I just didn't get it. But look, he gave us an incredible last 20 minutes, just so that we could all go, oh, actually, this is not over. This is Spurs. But no, look, at the end of the day, I weren't as nervous as everyone else. I don't know why. Spurs, it hadn't kicked in. I don't know if it's because I'm still recovering. Why as well, it hadn't kicked in. But look,
probably that.
But look, Son, look, at the end of the day, it meant the players had to wake up. It wasn't, because it was getting to that point. It was 3-0. It was becoming a bit easy, and we were just passing it about, and we weren't really concentrating on things, and we were starting to misplace passes a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think it was a case of actually wake everybody up. No, this game's not won. Let's get back on it. And they did. They did. They did actually get back on it. And we got the fourth, thank God, because we needed it after the corner that came in. But look, Spurs are never going to do it the easy way. So anybody that was thinking it was going to be 3-0 and we were going to walk it, think again. And the semi-final will be exactly the same. It will not be easy. It will be drama. It'll be up and down. Yeah. Right. Even, I know you said earlier, just getting the first leg out of the way and kind of trying to make it into a score that is quite so when we go to Anfield. But Spurs won't do it that way.
I was being bloody optimistic, Miles. In reality, I was still riding the wave at that point when I said that.
You wouldn't be surprised if it was another Ajax semi-final situation when we lost at home and you're like, oh my God, we've got to go to Anfield, and we end up being 2 or 3-0 down at half time and winning it in and getting the second half out of it. It'll be done in the Spurs fashion if we're going to go through.
Totally agree. Just on this point before we move on, TJ, does Johan Langer need to be working overtime in terms of the goalkeeping situation now on the back of those couple of mistakes from Forster? Or do you
Yeah,
think
of course he
we let
does.
him off? We let him
I
off?
mean,
No.
We shouldn't have been in this position in the first place. You know, again, if we look at Big Six, sure, okay, let's use that phrase still. But if we look at their squads and we look at who their second goalkeepers are, and we look at who our second goalkeeper is, I mean, again, I want to sing Forster's praises because he came in under tremendous scrutiny and criticism, and like I said, from myself included, and he's made me eat my words. I thought he's been an outstanding backup keeper for us thus far, and pretty much from when we needed him. Just kind of stepped in and went about his business. Yes, he had 2 absolute howlers today, but he also made a couple of outstanding saves. He seems like a goalkeeper that manages to create calm in our team. Obviously, he's been around for a long time. He's played in a lot of big clubs. He's played in different leagues. And so he has a really calming influence, which I think is terribly important. He's also good at, look, the dark arts, right? So he's really good at running the clock down. And this is all part of the modern game. It's really important. And so he seems like a pretty cerebral goalkeeper as well. And I just think, thank you, Gary. To Vass's point, we are a young team, right? So if you look at that back line, what are we talking about? 24, 18, 22, and 23 or something, right? So if you've got somebody behind you who's, how old is Forster? He's like 36, 37, isn't he? Something like that, Rick?
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So, you're looking at him kind of like almost like a dad kind of figure. So I think that's really important as well. So I just think there's little point in dumping on Forster tonight. He made a couple of errors that absolutely 100% led to goals. Some people are saying that's the system. Some people are saying because he got the ball passed back to him. Yeah. Come on, guys. You're going to pass the ball back to the goalkeeper. That's kind of how it works. He's just made 2 errors. It's okay. They ended up in the back of the net. That's okay because we went on and won the game. So let's focus on that. Let's not give this poor man, a crisis of conscience. Support him, support the team, celebrate the win, and get behind the boys for Sunday.
Totally agree. Look, the camera did pan to the car at one point, but I think Forster will take responsibility for that goal with the pressure being on him to play out from the back. I mean, that was what's going to happen, but the good thing is now it's out of the way. Spurs have got through. And what we needed in that moment was, to have the opportunity to once again retake a 2-0, a 2-goal advantage. That's exactly what Spurs did. Again, you'll probably look at the United goalkeeper as the calamity in this moment, but Spurs did go on and add a fourth again in the most craziest of circumstances. Heung-Min Son scoring off a direct corner. It deceived Bundia and found the net to spark massive celebrations. I think it's fair to say that the goalkeeper complained. He thought, a foul should have been given, but with no VAR, it was not going to be disallowed. Let's go to our referee as well as doctor on here. Vass, let's come to you. Vass, was that the right call for you that it should have been allowed, or do you think had VAR been available for this game, that would have been disallowed? What's your take on it for you, Vass?
I didn't think it was a foul, but you never really know with VAR, do you? And Marlon was saying before we started recording about how he thought that if VAR had got involved, they might have disallowed it, and I'll make him right on that. But I didn't think there was a foul, really. I just didn't see enough contact there. I think he sort of brushed the goalkeeper's left hand, but the guy was going up with his right hand anyway, so I don't really know what he was going to do. He could see from that still that you've got there.
Yep.
He could have quite easily tipped that ball over with his other hand anyway, even if there was no contact. But yeah, I don't think there was a foul there, Rick. I made the referee right, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like I say, Spurs at that point, 4-2. What am I talking about? A comfortable 2-goal advantage with Tottenham? Am I nuts? Where am I got a comfortable 2-goal advantage?
Just on that point as well, Rick. Sorry to interrupt you, brother, but
please.
I think a really keen indicator, and for me, the most honest indicator, if we're not going to go and use VAR, which of course is still subject to opinion and subjectivity. If you look at how the United players, every single one of them reacts to that. None of them are running over to the referee saying that was a foul, he was bumped into. If you look at the amount of times that Vicario got walloped, absolutely bullied, and then it ended up as a goal, all of our players are running over to the referee or to the linesman going, how did you not see that? How did you not do this? How did you not do that? All of the United players are just looking at the goalkeeper. He's just got to come up and catch that.
Yep.
You know, you've got Lucas Bergvall, who's 18 and looks about 11. You know, he looks like he's, about to audition to be in the latest, Scandinavian boy band. If he's going to bully you off the ball, that's on you, mate. You know, come and catch that. Never a foul. Never a foul.
TJ, thank you so much. Look, we're going to, like I say, close on the point that, Spurs did make some substitutions. Johnson and Reguilon, yes, Sergio Reguilon got on the pitch. You can't believe it. Sergio Reguilon making a Spurs appearance. Unbelievable, really. The last time Reguilon featured in a Spurs shirt, you've got to go all the way back to April 2022. It was that long ago. As Andrew was talking about prime ministers, so we'll take Andrew's call on this. Boris Johnson was still the PM at the time when Sergio Reguilon last pulled on a Spurs shirt. That's how long ago it was. The drama still wasn't done. Johnny Evans making it for free. Oh, Miles, I mean, this game, we just couldn't rest, could we? We just simply couldn't rest. It was literally goals right until the final whistle. I mean, that was with a minute to go. Miles, you wasn't Spurs if you were thinking United will still get one more chance, was you?
Of course, I did think they were going to get one more. But do you know what's really weird? I think if Forster doesn't make those 2 errors, he saved that. I think his head had gone by that point. And if you look at the last few games at what he has saved, usually something like that at him just hits him and comes out. So look, it was one of them. It was a nervous time added on. But we got through it. And I'm not going to complain. For me, with the goalkeeper situation, we need to get a first-team goalkeeper. It needs to be someone who's going to replace Vicario as well, because Vicario has made mistakes this year with his feet, and I think everyone's forgetting that at the moment because of the last game he played was Man City, which he's done really well in. But Vicario has been at fault for corners as well. He's not been coming out. He's not been comfortable. If you notice, when Forster's been in goal for corners in the last few games, we haven't really been conceded any. So it was quite interesting that we conceded one today. But apart from that, I think we just we just need to lay off both goalkeepers for a while. We need to see what we can do in the summer, because I don't think we're going to get what we need.
You don't think January they'll look to address that for you? You don't think so?
There's no point, because unless it's going to be a first team goalkeeper, we're not gonna get that in January. Well, I don't think Spurs will get it in January because it's just not the Spurs way of doing things. So, and for me, Forster's done a good enough job in the last few weeks to say, look, I can be your number 2. I can come in, I can step in, but I've just got my faults, and Vicario's got his faults too. We just again, when it comes to goalkeepers, if you know what their faults are, you don't go and highlight them and start playing it out from the back and things like that. And like I said, I think I said the same thing with Vicario and corners. He's not good at coming out for corners, so you have to get something in place where he's not being shown his weakness, and that's what you have to do with both of them at the moment. And at the end of the day, if goalkeepers weren't expected to play it out with their feet, those 2 mistakes don't happen today. And we're looking at Fraser Forster going after that Xerxes save, going, what brilliant night he's had. It just
I totally agree. Look, before guys, I look to close and ask you a final question each. I'm just going to bring in the comments of Ange Postecoglou, who has said a lot to the media after this game. Now, Ange said, look, we played so well. We're in control of the game. It's the way our season has gone really a little bit in terms of hitting that self-destruct button, in terms of the self-infliction of some pain. But we scrambled to get a foothold and end up getting a 4th goal and winning the game. It should have been a lot more comfortable than what it was. We did get tired in the second half, but I'm so proud of the players. He said on Fraser Forster that, look, I can't speak high enough of this group of players. Again, I need to remind people, we had 10 players from our list unavailable for one reason or another. And that's what point that actually Vass said at the top of the show. I keep on saying we'll get to some swivel waters at some point, but this period of growth is going to be absolutely enormous for us. And I think, again, Fraser will be disappointed in himself, but I thought in the moments in where, take the goals aside, he conceded, he was absolutely outstanding for us. He was asked on Dominic Solanke's performance, he said, look, he has been outstanding for us all season. It is just about finding that service for Dom on a more regular basis. He scored against Chelsea a few weeks ago. So we can keep talking about the role he plays in terms of the goal ratio so far, but I'm really pleased for what he has done. And was asked about how much he's looking forward to a semi-final. And he said, look, we are now at that point of the competition. We're in a semi, so I think it's time to reflect on as progress for this football club. We've got an opportunity now, home and away, to get to a final, and we've earned that. It's one to look forward to, but we've got some important games still before that, starting this Sunday, and we've got to get through that. And the mentality of the boys that's showing right now, we've got to tackle these games head on. He was asked if reaching the semi-final was a reward for the players. He said, absolutely. I mean, that's the one kind of thing you have to show, fight, determination, and me praising them. The rules are there for us. We have reached the semi-final, and I'm so proud of the group. He made the point that, for his perspective, he has always maintained and stuck to his beliefs when it comes to his conviction around the style of play. And he also confirmed that Timo Werner missed the game due to illness. And we will see, of course, ahead of Liverpool, if Timo Werner will return. And he just made that point. Look, that's what it's been like really throughout the season. We've lost players and we continue to do so, but we will keep fighting on. Vass, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate. You know, I'm a big fan of the Dr Tottenham podcast, and it's been lovely, mate, having a bit of time with you on here. I know we've tried to make it happen in these last couple of months. We've had family dramas in between it and whatever. But, mate, I will always implore people, please go and listen to the Dr Tottenham pod. Great pod over there. It's a cross between the UK and America with what those guys do over there. Vass, tell us your feeling and how proud you are to see this club reach a semi. And more importantly, I've got to ask you, can we go all the way now?
Of course we can, Ricky. We might have to win the semi-final 8-6 or something, but yeah, of course we're going to get there.
Is that over the 2 legs or just the first leg, Vass?
Oh, 2 legs, come on.
And a reminder, Vass, where can people find the Dr Tottenham pod?
Yeah, anywhere you get your podcasts, guys. Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, whatever, Podbean. And we're also got a YouTube channel, so you can go and find our video broadcasts. Just click Dr Tottenham is where you find it, and click the live link and you can watch them back if that's what you fancy. But certainly we're on all the audio channels, so it'd be nice to have you along with us. Thank you.
Bless you. That's always a pleasure. Can't thank you enough.
Yeah, pleasure's mine, mate. Yeah.
As well as a doctor, which he is. Always a doctor we turn to in this community. Miles, I'm going to come over to you. Spurs Kings are going strong. It's a busy period for you guys. You've got Ash hosting late night shows, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. God, that guy don't stop moving. I mean, I'm trying to get some sleep whilst as he's starting.
Mate, I'm half asleep by the time he wants to finish. I'm kind of like, Ash, I'm going to bed. you go ahead. You go ahead. No, look, again, yeah. We got shows Tuesdays, Wednesdays. We don't really do the weekends now because we're committed to you guys, Ricky. But as it is,
well, you say you're committed. I don't know what I've done to your marriage and your missus. I mean, that's a different subject.
Mate, she owes me for the last 2 weeks, so it's fine. You've got 2 weeks out of me.
Thank God for that. Thank God for that.
Yeah, you can find us on Spotify now. We've recently just got onto that as well. But as they say, look, you'll find us here. You'll find us over at Tottenham TV. But yeah, just come over to Spurs Kings TV. All the help is appreciated, and we've got a variety of shows. We just don't do Spurs. We do some Premier League ones as well if you're interested in that part. But thanks for having me, Rick, as always. And come on, you Spurs.
Miles, can we win it?
Of course, we're in it, so of course we can win it.
Logical answer. I tell you, Miles, thank you so much. Gotta say, what a pleasure to have Miles back on the show. Love having these guys on. They've been amazing. TJ, mate, I want to just say, mate, you know how much we love you on the show. You know how much the viewers and listeners absolutely adore you. They're going to miss you now for a little bit of a period, but we're going to wrap TJ up. We've got to bring him over now to the coldness of the UK, where he knows what it's like. We're going to wrap him up, bring him over, and we're going to place him back into the States, where we've got to recharge him for the second half of the season. We've got a semi-final to look forward to. We've got Europa to come. TJ, thank you so much, mate. Like I say, you know how much we love having you on the show. I'll ask the question to you. Can we win it? What can we do? Can we go?
Yeah. So again, as you know, and anyone who watches this show and has seen me on this show, I am very much a glass is half full person, and that also relates to how I support this club, no matter how many times they've let me down in the past. So what I'm thinking is that if we can go to Anfield and potentially get a draw, or maybe not suffer too tremendous a loss, if we thank you. Let's say that we come out of there with like a 2-1 or a 3-2 or something like that, and then take it home. I think we've got every chance of beating Liverpool. And I was just saying to a friend of mine, actually, one of my best friends, Alex, is another Tottenham boy who lives there. He lives down the road from me. I would much rather face Liverpool in a semi-final than in a final. Much rather face them in a very good point, semi-final than in a final. You want to face Liverpool in the final of anything. Talking about the Champions League, like my goodness, they have pedigree, you know, when it comes to getting over that final hurdle. So I take them in the semis, see how we can get on. And listen, I've enjoyed it today immensely. I'm definitely going to need a walk or something. I've got so much pent up energy.
A walk.
I'm going to go and enjoy some sunshine. Listen, who knows? I might run down to the beach. Who knows? My thanks to you as ever, Rick. I love being on the show, brother. Thank you so much. I will be in the air for the Liverpool game, so I won't be able to come back on to that.
Can I just say, and also TJ means literally in the air.
I'll be flying
think he's actually in the air, general, but he will be literally in the air.
Exactly, flying home for the Christmas break. Looking forward to seeing you, Marlon. Always a pleasure, brother. Love hearing your wisdom, man. Love your insight. Vass, what a pleasure to share the screen and the airwaves with you, my friend. Again,
pleasure,
so
TJ. Likewise.
And of course, to all of our listeners and our viewers, I just want to say as well, like so many people from around the world watch this show, and we've got a bunch of them on. I saw Toronto Spurs, Little Rock Spurs, some lovely chap in Perth, which is where my mother is from. Actually, my parents now live in Perth, so big up. I think his name was Mark. People, you know, in Tampa listening to us, in Texas, all over the world. So big up Spurs family, man. Let's enjoy today, moving into the festive period. All the very best to you all. Love and light. Come on, you Spurs.
God, he's so classy. Don't we love him? The wonderful TJ Ramini. Listen, guys, a massive thank you. Nearly over 8,000 of you have watched us live. Thank you so much for all your love, for all your support. We've been blessed and joined by the wonderful actor TJ Ramini, the superb monarch, the Spurs Kings, and a doctor. My God, we needed him. We've got him in ours. Vass Koni, of course, Dr Tottenham pod. Go and check them all out. Guys, Spurs are in the Carabao Cup semi-final. Isn't that lovely to say and feel and hear it? We are going to be approaching a really exciting period over this Christmas period. Look, stay with us all the way. From us all here, please keep safe, keep well. And as always, come on, you Spurs.